Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Arpan Patel, and today's topic is going to be Databricks and DataStax Astra, more specifically, connecting Databricks and DataStax Astra with Databricks' Community Edition, and then also DataStax Astra's free tier. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. Just a little housekeeping. If you have any questions, please direct them into the chat and we will get to them at a good stopping point. If you have any questions, if you're watching this later on YouTube, you can direct them in the comment section and we will try to get to them when we get a chance. Just to give some people some time, we're going to go ahead and get started around 6:02. So again, thank you for joining us and we hope you enjoy. Alrighty. Thank you again for everyone joining us this evening. Today's topic is going to be Databricks and DataStax Astra, with the more specific concept of connecting Databricks and DataStax Astra with Databricks Community Edition and DataStax Astra's free tier. This will be part one of our Databricks and DataStax Astra series. Next week at the same time, next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, right here on our YouTube channel, we're going to take a deeper look at Databricks' notebooks and seeing what we can do with the Community Edition and seeing how we can access our data from DataStax Astra, transform it using Databricks, and then write it back into Astra. So we'll go ahead and get started. So a little about me. My name is Arpan Patel, and my most recent series that I did was using open source Apache Spark and DataStax Astra. So there are some differences that we'll talk about using open source versus using Databricks to connect to DataStax Astra. So the first part of that series was connecting Apache Spark and DataStax Astra. The YouTube video for that is on our channel, so you can go ahead and find that when you have the time. You can go ahead, like, and subscribe while you're there. We have a GitHub repo that's associated with both of these. Each one of these webinars has its own directory within the repo. So if you just want to learn how to run the Spark job, or if you want to learn how to connect it, those both are available on that GitHub repository. And both of these webinars have blogs and slide decks associated with them, and you can find them linked here. And this slide deck will be available tomorrow when everything gets published. And, oh, sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Arpan Patel. I've been here at Anant for about a year now, and been focusing and giving webinars on topics surrounding Cassandra, Spark, DataStax Astra, and the whole nine. All right. So if you are not familiar with what Databricks is, it's one unified platform for data and AI built on Lakehouse architecture. You can look up what Lakehouse architecture is. Databricks defines it in one of their blogs. They offer a free community edition, and within there is a microcluster, a cluster manager, and a notebook environment. That's what we're going to be using today. So this whole demo for today and next week, you can follow along without having to input a credit card or spend a single cent. So with Databricks, you can get reliable data engineering, SQL analytics on all your data, collaborative data science, so if you're working in teams, and then production level machine learning. And the really nice thing about Databricks is it's a fully managed cloud service. And with that, you get the security, reliability, scaling, and performance that comes with those big name clouds. And Databricks is rooted in open source. So a couple of the technologies that Databricks has in their platform are some technologies that they are the original creators of. So the people who founded Databricks also were the original creators of Apache Spark, Delta Lake, and MLflow. And then other technologies that are also included in the Databricks platform are TensorFlow, Redash, and R. And we won't be going into the high level data science or data analytics. We're just going to be showing you bare bones how to get started. And then next week, we're going to do a simple demo just to show you how you can do notebooks in Scala and how you can extract data from your Astra instance, transform it, and then load it back into Astra. All right. And then we're in the demo, like I mentioned, we're going to use Databricks Community Edition in the DataStax Astra free tier. If you're not familiar with DataStax Astra, it's DataStax's Cassandra in the cloud as a service. We have a ton of content around DataStax and DataStax Astra. So if you want, you can go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/AnantCorp, or just click the icon below this video, and you can just knock yourself out. There's a ton of content there. So if you're getting started with Astra, or you're a little bit more advanced and you want to see what you can do with Astra, also we have a event-driven toolkit workshop that we've been doing with DataStax themselves on DataStax's developer YouTube channel. And we just wrapped up part 3 earlier this month. So part 1 was we created a API, one version in Node, one version in Python, a C# version is coming soon, and that talks to Astra. And then part 2 uses Kafka, and we did event-driven toolkits, so using Kafka for event-driven architecture to talk to Astra and simulate how you can do it. And then in part 3, we also added Spark into Kafka and Astra. And then we also introduced Spark streaming and Spark batch jobs. So you can check out that repo with the Spark, Kafka, and Astra at github.com/AnantCorp, or sorry, github.com/Anant/Cassandra.realtime. And then within there, you can also find our Cassandra.api, which has those 2 Node and Python APIs that we created for Astra. All right. And then I'll stop here for a couple minutes to see if anyone has any questions. If not, we'll go ahead and move on to the demo section. All right, looks like no questions, so we'll go ahead and get started with the demo. So you can go ahead and create a Community Edition account with Databricks. It's separate from their normal account, but you can upgrade your community account to a paid version if you want. But this would be your dashboard upon logging in. And we're just going to go ahead and get started in the left-hand tab bar, and we're going to go down to clusters. And these are clusters I've already created, just demoing this and testing the method. So we're just going to go ahead and create cluster, and this one's just going to be called demo as well. And then here we can select what runtime we want, depending on what runtime you select, because it might have a different version of Spark and Scala. So I'm just going to be using Spark 3.0.1, which is the most recent update. So I'm just going to go with the runtime they've already selected for me. So it's Scala 2.12 and Spark 3.0.1. And so if you're not familiar with Spark, DataStax's Spark Cassandra connector, which we will need to talk to Astra, you can go to their GitHub just search Spark Cassandra connector in Google, and you can find their compatibility list, and they have which versions of the connector are compatible with which version of Spark and Scala. So one thing that is different from using open source Apache Spark and connecting to Astra is the configs. Three of them are the same, but one of them, we have an additional one that we will need. So when we go to Spark, let's go to, let me just copy and paste. This code config will be in the blog post that goes up tomorrow. So essentially, we're going to need 4 configs. We're going to need Spark DSE continuous paging enabled, set to false. Because if you don't have this, there is a dependency issue between the Spark Cassandra connector and the Databricks runtime. And if you do not have this config set to false, you will get some errors, or you may get some errors. I did when I did it without this config, getting errors trying to read from Astra. So as a workaround, you can have the Spark DSE continuous paging enabled set to false. We'll need Spark Cassandra auth for password, and then Spark Cassandra username for username. And then we'll also need one that when you're connecting to Astra, you'll need the Spark config. It's called Spark Cassandra connection config cloud path. And this cloud path just points to where your secure connect bundle is. If you're not familiar with the secure connect bundle, it's essentially the auth packet DataStax Astra uses. So we used it in our real-time repo. We used it in our Cassandra API repo. So that's basically the way we can talk to Astra. And you can get that by going to the dashboard on Astra and hitting connect on whatever database you have. So mine's called demo. And then if you scroll down a little bit and just click on any one of these languages for connect using a driver, you can download the bundle. I've already downloaded the bundle and I have a bunch of copies and I just don't want to rename it a bunch of times. So I already have it on my desktop. So if I go back to Spark, so actually before I do this, I'm going to hit cancel and I'm going to go back to data because I should have done this first. So if we go into data, we're going to hit create table. And this is where we're going to add our Secure Connect bundle into our DBFS. So if we click on DBFS and go to File Store, Tables, currently we don't have anything. So if we go into Upload File, and then all we're going to do is just drag and drop, and it was added. So if I go back to DBFS, File Store, Tables, I should now see my zip. All right, so let's go back to clusters and start this again. So I'm just going to name this demo, and then we're going to click on Spark to add our Spark config. So we're setting continuous paging enabled to false. My username and password are username and password for my Astra cluster. And then for my path, I've already given you what you'll need. So it's this DBFS /file store tables, and then secure _ connect _ database name. This part is templated, so this could be whatever your database is. Remember, mine was called Secure Connect Demo, so mine is going to be called Secure Connect Demo. So if you have a database called test, apples, pears, shopping list, whatever, so it's just Secure Connect, whatever your database name is. And then we're going to go ahead and just hit create cluster. And this is only going to take a couple seconds. While this is going, we're going to go ahead and add our Spark Cassandra connector library. If we go into the library section underneath the cluster, it's going to be configuration notebook libraries. We're going to hit install new. So there's two ways we can actually do this. We can do this, we're going to do it through Maven. Two ways we can do it through Maven. So we could add the coordinates in, but the nice thing is Databricks provides you a way to search for packages. And this is where another nuance comes up, where when we're using Databricks versus open source Apache Spark, and then when you're searching for it, I'll get back to that thought in a second, but when you're searching for a Spark Cassandra connector, you're going to want to switch this tab to Maven Central versus Spark packages. And this is where it comes through. So we have Yugabytes, but we're going to be using DataStax. Okay, so back to that original thought that I cut off. So when we're using Databricks versus open source, so just normal open source Apache Spark, you would use this bottom one, Spark Cassandra connector 2.11. It's 3.0, whatever the latest version is. But because we're using Databricks, there is a dependency conflict, I believe, where we have to use Spark Cassandra connector assembly instead of just Spark Cassandra connector. So it's important that you use Spark Cassandra connector assembly and then the correct version for that. So like I mentioned, if you're using a different version of Spark in the runtime when you set up your cluster, you would just need to change this release version. But because we're using the latest version, I know for a fact 3.0.1 version of Spark is compatible with Spark Cassandra connector version 3.0. So we're just going to go ahead and select that. So Spark Cassandra connector assembly 2.12, select, and then we're just going to hit install. And that's it. So once it's installed, your setup is essentially done. That's all you need to connect and talk to DataStax Astra using Databricks. So, but once this installs, we'll go to this notebook I've made. This notebook is very simple. It's just to show that we can talk to Astra and show the tables we have. And then next week, we'll actually go in, like I mentioned, and actually write out some code that talks to Astra, brings back data, transforms it, and then writes it back in. All right, so our Spark Cassandra connector is installed. So we'll go ahead and go to notebooks. We don't have any specifically attached, so that's also the nice thing about using something like Databricks. We can have a ton of notebooks, and then say if you have one notebook that can be run on multiple clusters, you can do that. You can just attach it to one cluster, run the notebook, detach it, attach it to the next cluster, run it, detach it, etc., etc., etc. So that's a really cool thing Databricks allows. So if we go into recents, this is just for me. I already have this notebook called demo. I'm going to clear the results. And so I'm just going to quickly explain this. And so we're just importing some packages we need. We're saying my database name is demo, my key space is test. We're setting a Cassandra catalog using Spark conf, and then we're going to access it using spark.sql. So we're going to say use demo.test, and then we're going to do spark.sql show tables, and then we're going to show that data frame. And so if I click on this up here, so we see that attached clusters, these are connected to my old clusters, right? So currently I'm just going to detach it, and then I'm going to attach it to our running cluster, which has the green dot. And that's it. That's all you need to do. So if I need to switch between clusters, it's very, very simple. So we're just going to confirm. So if we go into Astra, I am going to go to Studio. Actually, I'll go into console. Might be a little bit faster. All right. Use demo. Oh, that's where I'm already in demo. So use demo.test. God dang it. CQL is getting rusty. All right, so in our database of demo, we're in our key space called test. And when I say describe tables, we get 3 tables back. So we have a leaves table, leaves by tag table, and a tags table. I'll explain more about that when we get to the demo portion next week and when we're running a test. So essentially what we're going to do next week is we're going to extract data from this leaves table using Databricks. So in our notebook, we're going to pull data from this leaves table in Astra, and then we're going to transform the data, and then we're going to write data into the leaves by tag table and write data into the tags table. So that's just a preview, but we have 3 tables in Astra currently, and we're just going to confirm that using Databricks. So we are going to show tables, and when I hit run, and again, like I mentioned, if we had DSE continuous paging enabled, if we didn't have that config, it might fail here, saying that the job aborted. or the job failed. But when this command runs, we ideally should get back our 3 tables in the data frame. And we do. Great. Yeah, that wraps it up for connecting Databricks Community Edition and Astra's free tier. So if you want to get your hands dirty with Databricks, and if you want to get your hands dirty with Astra, it's a perfect way to get started. It's completely free, and it's very simple to get started using Databricks, like I've shown you. Maybe 3 steps it takes to start a cluster, set your configs, and then download the Spark Cassandra connector library. So yeah, that's about it. We will go back to the slide deck. And again, I'd like to thank you for coming out tonight. This has been Arpan Patel at Anant. If you want to reach us here, you can reach us at anant.us, or you can email us at solutions@anant.us. We do scalable, fast data with the focus on Cassandra, Spark, and Kafka. So if you want to ally on your Cassandra platform, don't hesitate to reach out, and we will open up the floor for questions one more time to see if anyone's got anything. And again, if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're watching this live, don't forget to hit like and subscribe before you leave. And yeah, you can direct the questions into the chat, or if you're watching this at a later time, you can direct them in the comment section, and we'll get to them when we can. All right, looks like no questions. Again, this has been Arpan Patel at Anant. If you want to reach out to us and work with us on your Cassandra platform, you can contact us at anant.us, or you can email us at solutions@anant.us. And we'll be here same time, same place next week. And again, you can subscribe and get notified that our next webinar, so we're going to be running in a Databricks notebook against DataStax Astra. So like what we just did to confirm, but a little bit more involved doing some actual ETL. All right. Thank you for joining us.